And welcome to the NJC's 10-minute takeaway, where we will try and cram in as much information as we can into a 10-minute workshop. I'm Tom Stenson, audit trainer and head of training for the NJC. And today I'm joined by Lynne Barrie, who is our current president of the NJC and past chair, and a former teacher and audit trainer. Welcome, Lynne.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for asking me again.
And thank you for coming along. So in today's topic, we will be discussing the importance of your voice, or our voice as instructors. So why is our voice, Lynne, such an important tool as an instructor?
Because I think the job that we do is about communication. Obviously, the voice is an important part of that, and our voice needs to be empathetic at times. It needs to be at the right volume and the right pitch to help people. But then sometimes in this job, we need to realize that we need to change our voice so that it's not monotonous. It's not all on the same tone, depending on what's happening in the lesson. When people first come to me for training, it's one of the things that we discuss after we've done, say, 5 or 10 minutes. We talk about it, and most people actually, their voice is quite good. We can alter it a little bit and help, particularly with the risk management bit, where you need to have perhaps more of a command in your voice. But there are some people who actually do talk too quietly, or almost mutter to the point that everything's getting joined together and there's no stops in it. There's no time taken to sort of think about things. And occasionally I get somebody who's perhaps almost too loud in the car, which can be a bit off-putting for a pupil, and a bit overpowering almost. So I just feel that your voice, the better your voice and the calmer you are with the approach to your voice, the calmer the pupil will be.
And I think it's interesting as well, because when I'm training PDIs, I think especially when they're quite new, there's a lot of information that's going through their mind. They're perhaps a little bit nervous because they're having to think about things, and the tone and how they use their voice is probably not at the forefront of what they're thinking about at the time. But like you say, if we're looking at something like risk management, I would not condone shouting in any way, but how we use our voice can be a really good way of controlling a situation.
Yeah, I agree. And I just feel that there's different types of voice that we need to get used to using. I think what would be good actually for all of us, and some people have video a recorder in the car, or you could even tape it, but sometimes it's just good to listen to your voice. Because if you listen to your own voice, you can hear the ups and the downs and the stops, or I could have stopped there. So only by listening to it really and hearing it back are you going to understand your own voice. It's not always the most pleasant experience. I know when I first listened to my own voice, I didn't like it at all. But it was a valuable thing to do, because you can work on it and you can change it. Definitely. There are ways of doing that.
And that recommendation is something that I think probably a lot of people have been recommended. So, record yourself, see what you're saying to the pupil or how the pupil is reacting. But to be able to look at how we are delivering that information and the tones that we're using is just another great opportunity.
Yeah. So you need like the basic conversational tone, like we're having now, a conversation between us, which should just be nice and easy. It should be sort of supportive and comforting for the pupils, so that they get used to your voice as well, because they're getting in with the same person all the time. But then you need that voice where you're going to give a direction, and that's not much louder. It's just perhaps a bit less of a personal sort of tone to it. So you've had a conversation, you've been talking, but then you'll suddenly say something like, take the next road on the left, or drive on when you're ready. And it's just a little bit slower, but it needs to be clear, doesn't it?
Mm.
and you're getting them used to what's going to happen when they're out there on test or even following a sat nav. And then you've got the sort of tone that's when I think you need to come in to help them in an instructional way, which is about sort of getting them to encourage them to do something. So, have you got a gap through there? Are you sure? That sort of instructional, helping, easing them into something, prompting them in with some questions. And that's a slightly different tone again. And then the one that I think they do need to practice more, which is the control voice. So it's again, it's not a shout, but if you want them not to go because you can sense they're about to pull out, rather than have to use the jaws, we know we're going to try verbally to intervene. That's about your voice. So, if you sense they're going to go and you don't want them to go, wait, don't go. Have you seen the white car? Look at the speed it's doing. And it's gone up a bit, it's a bit quicker, but it's a definite don't go. Because I've sat in the back in lessons recently, and the PDIs have been saying, wait, wait, and nothing's happening. And the car starts moving out. And then we get this sudden, we're stopping because the jewel's been used. Actually, and it's something I'm working on with PDIs at the moment, but if they could just get that verbal intervention that bit better and the voice better there, they would avoid the jewels altogether and they could just use their voice to do it.
Yeah, and I think the two things that really stood out there was without shouting, but using it to be able to control those situations a little bit more, especially with that risk management. But I think the other thing that really popped out to me was using our tone as encouragement. So, it hasn't got to be all negative and we can only use it for, if we're about to crash and things like that. We can use it as an encouragement for the pupil. So when they're doing things correctly, and it's as everything we do in driving and with instruction, I think it's that balance of finding what's right at that time.
Definitely, yes. But this is one of our biggest tools. We talk about tools in the toolbox, but our voice is really important. It's part of our characteristics. I mean, everybody's voice is unique. And we're not talking about regional accents or anything like that there. That really does not matter at all. It's just about the tone, the depth of it, and the sort of rise and fall and the stop now and again. And don't be frightened of a silence now and again. And then it's comforting, it's calming, but if you do need to stop somebody, they know instantly that if I say wait, I mean wait. Just don't go. And I'm not doing it for any other reason than to keep us safe together. We're working as a team. So if I need to come in with a bit more of a wait, and then afterwards we talk about it and we go back to our conversational tone, then I think they understand. I don't think that pupils feel they're being told off, not if it's done in the correct way. It's encouraging, isn't it?
And I think in a lot of our training that we deliver, we're often talking to trainees and instructors about the importance of active listening and listening to the pupil and how they're saying and what they're saying. But I
Mm,
don't know whether many people highlight it to listen to what you're saying and how you're saying it, because that's still, as you say, one of our tools. And I think it is an important thing that people need to think about a little bit more,
mm.
because the more tools that we've got to be able to help our learners, and trainees in our case, then I think the better that would be.
Yeah, I mean, if people do need to practice it, and sometimes they go away to practice it, and I say to them, do it in a room where you're on your own, somewhere where you don't feel stupid. Because PDI said to me recently, I'm going home to practice this on my wife. Practice it somewhere where, you're on your own, you can practice, or you can talk to a piece of furniture or talk to something, but practice. So sometimes I'll give them like a sentence, something like, what are you looking for ahead? But then we put the emphasis on each word. So, what are you looking for ahead?
Mm.
What are you looking for ahead? 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 And just by putting emphasis on each word, it can really help. But you do need to practice that, and you need to practice it somewhere where you don't feel too silly doing it until that starts to get better, and it will. Because really, when you think about it, when we go out to work, we've got that different persona. We're not the same person as we are at home, or if we're out with friends, or when we are doing our job, we have a different persona. So the personality and the confidence comes really from the voice. So it's really, really important, actually. So if this has sort of made a few people think, oh, I haven't really thought about that, then it is something to think about. But I do think the risk one is a really important one.
Yeah, yeah, and as everything we do is very much centered around that risk management as well.
Mm.
And I would like to point out as well, sort of the importance of maybe getting the feedback from the pupil as well about how they found the tone was that we were using within the last 5 minutes. Did they notice that it had changed? Because then if we're getting more feedback from them on how that helped, it gives us a little bit more idea of which points we can use that and how to emphasize it.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, I'll mirror what the pupil's doing a little bit. So if they're very soft and quiet, I will talk softer and quieter. If they are much louder and they talk like that all the time and quite quickly, sometimes I'll do that as well, so that you're balancing what the pupil does. But yeah, I think the best thing to do to help yourself is just to listen back to yourself and think, how could I have got that better? Or ask your trainer about your voice, and does it need any work on it? Because it's perhaps something that we don't think enough about.
Agreed. Well, that is the end of our 10 minutes. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again on another session.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Tom.